AITA for telling my sister she's not welcome in my house after what she said. So, I, 29F, have always had a, let's call it complicated relationship with my sister, Tara, 32F. She's one of those people who has a talent for making everything about herself while somehow pretending she's the victim. I learned years ago to keep her at arm's length, but because of family pressure, my mother refusing to let anything go, I still include her in most gatherings. For context, I've been married to my husband, Liam, 31M, for 3 years. He's quiet, gentle, and honestly one of the most patient people I've ever met. Everyone loves him, except Tara, apparently, who has always made these weird little digs about him being too sensitive or not manly enough. I usually ignore her because she thrives on attention, but lately it's gotten worse. Last weekend, we hosted a small dinner at our place. Nothing fancy, just my parents, Tara, and her new boyfriend. The evening started off fine: wine, food, my mom bragging about her plants, the usual. Liam cooked almost everything because he loves hosting and showing hospitality. When he stepped into the kitchen to grab dessert, Tara leaned back in her chair and said, loud enough for everyone to hear, "You know, it's kind of embarrassing that your husband acts more like a housewife than a real man. Don't you ever wish you were with someone who could take charge?" I swear the entire table froze. Her boyfriend looked like he wanted to crawl under the floor. My mom gave me this, just ignore her look, which no, absolutely not. I told her, very calmly, that what she said was disrespectful, unnecessary, and frankly pathetic. She smirked at me like I was the one making a scene. Liam came back in with the cake and sensed the tension. He asked what was going on, and before I could defuse it, Tara said, "I was just telling your wife she deserves a real man. Don't get offended." He went so quiet I swear you could hear his heart break. I saw red. I told her she needed to leave. Immediately. She laughed, thought I was joking, and then realized I wasn't when I stood up and grabbed her bag. She stormed out, calling me dramatic. My parents followed shortly after, mumbling something about family shouldn't fight like this. Her boyfriend apologized to us before leaving. Liam tried to brush it off, but later that night he admitted it really got to him. Now it's been 4 days, and my mom says I overreacted and should apologize for kicking my sister out of my own home. Tara has been texting nonstop saying I'm controlling and that I chose a man over my family. I told her she's not welcome in my house until she apologizes to my husband. Cue nuclear meltdown. So, am I the asshole for telling my sister she's not welcome after what she said? The next morning, my phone looked like it was trying to self-destruct. I had 17 missed calls from my mom, 4 from my dad, which is basically a record for him, and a string of messages from Tara that ranged from passive-aggressive to full-on unhinged. The last one literally just said, "You're sick." Okay, sure, Jan. Liam noticed all the noise and gently took my phone, put it on silent, and handed me a cup of coffee. He didn't say anything about what happened the night before, but the way he avoided eye contact told me the comment still stung. Around noon, my mom finally texted something that wasn't a lecture, but still had big mom guilt energy. "Can we come talk? It's important." I didn't want to, but I also knew if I ignored her she'd show up anyway. So I told her she and my dad could come by, without Tara. They arrived looking like they were coming to deliver news of a tragic accident. My mom sat down on the couch, folded her hands dramatically, and said, "Sweetheart, Tara is very hurt." I swear I almost laughed. I told her very calmly that Liam was hurt, that Tara crossed a line, and that she's not welcome in our home until she apologizes. My mom sighed like I was being unreasonable and turned to Liam, who wasn't even part of this meeting, and said, "You know she didn't mean it. You're too sensitive." I felt my jaw clench so hard it popped. Liam, bless this man, just said quietly, "It's not about being sensitive." It was unkind. My dad nodded in agreement, but my mom shot him a look that clearly said pick a side, and of course he retreated into silence. Then my mom said something that made my blood boil. "Family shouldn't have to apologize for everything they say. You should know she loves you." I told her love doesn't excuse treating people like garbage, especially the people I care about. And if Tara can't be respectful, she doesn't get to be in her home. My mom shook her head, stood up, and said, "You're choosing him over your family." I said, "He is my family." Dead silence. My mom got teary, which is her classic move when she's losing an argument. My dad cleared his throat and mumbled something like, "Maybe the girls should talk later," which is code for, "Please don't drag me into this." They left shortly after, clearly upset. 2 hours later, I got another text from Tara. "Mom told me everything. You're pathetic. Get help." I didn't respond. But Liam looked at me later and said, "I don't want to be the reason you're fighting with your family." And for the first time, I felt a tiny pinch of doubt. Not enough to change my mind, but enough to sting. Was I being too harsh? Or was everyone else just refusing to hold Tara accountable? 2 days later, Things escalated in a way I honestly should have seen coming. I was at work when I got a text from my neighbor. At first, I thought it was a delivery notification, but no. It was. Hey, your sister is at your door. She's been knocking for like 10 minutes. Is everything okay? I nearly dropped my phone. I hadn't told Tara she could come. I hadn't even answered her last 10 messages. But of course she decided showing up uninvited was the perfect next step. I left work early and drove home with that sick, adrenaline-fueled feeling, the kind you get when you don't know if you're about to deal with a fight or a meltdown. When I pulled up, Tara was standing on my front porch with her arms crossed and a face like she was auditioning for a villain role. She marched up to me the second I stepped out of the car. "You're unbelievable," she snapped. "You're ignoring Mom, you're ignoring me, and you're embarrassing our whole family." I took a deep breath because I could feel my temper bubbling. "Tara, you can't just show up uninvited." "I told you." She cut me off. "You're kicking me out of your house over a joke. And you're making Liam out to be a victim just because he got his feelings hurt? God, you've always favored him." That was it. That was the moment something in me shut off. I told her, flat and calm, "This isn't about a joke. It's about you insulting my husband, refusing to apologize, and then acting like you're the one who's been wronged. But you're not welcome here. Not until you can take responsibility." She scoffed so hard her whole body moved. "You think you're better than me because you have your perfect little marriage and your perfect little house? Newsflash, you're miserable. And everyone sees it." That one hit different, not because it was true, but because it was so clearly meant to be cruel. I opened my front door, stepped inside, and said, "You need to leave." She didn't move. She just stared at me with this stunned, offended expression, like she genuinely couldn't believe I was serious. Then she said, "If you close that door, we're done." I didn't even hesitate. I closed it. My hands were shaking afterward, not because I regretted it, but because it felt like something permanent had shifted. When Liam got home later, I told him everything. He listened quietly, then sat next to me and said, "I'm sorry it came to this. But I'm proud of you." That's when I realized how much I'd been carrying. How exhausting it was to constantly manage my family's dysfunction. How long I'd been bending to keep the peace. That night, my mom sent a long paragraph about how I'd broken Tara's heart and how she was crying uncontrollably. My dad added a short text. "Maybe we can all meet and talk when things cool down." Tara, on the other hand, sent, "You chose him. Don't expect me to be there when he leaves you." Liam saw the message. He didn't say anything, but I could see the hurt in his eyes. And that's when the last bit of guilt I had just evaporated. The silence lasted 3 days. 3 blissful, drama-free, no texts from Mom or Tara days. It was the calmest my phone had been in years. But of course, it didn't last. On the 4th day, my mom invited us to a family meeting. Which, if you've ever grown up in a family with bad communication habits, you know is code for an ambush with snacks. I told her no. She sent a crying emoji, because apparently we're 5 years old now. Then she said something that made me see exactly how skewed her perspective was. "You can't cut your sister out over one comment. Sisters fight. Sisters forgive." I replied. "Sisters also don't insult each other's spouses and double down when called out." No response. Later that evening, my dad called. When he calls, it means he's been sent in as the peacekeeping ambassador. He said things like, "Your mother is very upset, and Tara's not eating, and maybe you could be the bigger person." I told him I've been the bigger person my whole life with Tara. That I'm done playing the role of the family doormat. He was quiet for a long time. Then he said, "I understand," in a soft voice that made me believe he actually did. But the real kicker came the next morning. Tara posted a long, dramatic Facebook rant about losing a sibling to a manipulative partner and being punished for telling the truth. She didn't use my name, but she didn't need to. Half our extended family immediately flooded my inbox. Liam saw the post before I did. When I walked into the living room, he was sitting on the couch staring at his phone with this exhausted, heartbroken look. He turned to me and said, "I'm really sorry. I never wanted to be a reason for any of this." And for the first time, I realized just how much my family's behavior was hurting him, not just me. I sat next to him, took his hand, and said, "You're not the reason. They are." That seemed to break something in him, not in a bad way, more like relief mixed with sadness. Like he finally believed I wasn't going to fold to the pressure. That afternoon, I sent a single message to the family group chat. "I'm stepping back for a while. I love you all, but I'm not exposing myself or my husband to disrespect. When Tara is ready to apologize sincerely, we can talk. Until then, please stop contacting us about this." My mom tried calling immediately. I didn't answer. My dad texted a thumbs up. Progress. "And Tara?" She replied with, "Don't bother. I don't apologize to people who twist everything. Enjoy your perfect little life." I blocked her. The next few days were peaceful. Strange, but peaceful. Liam seemed lighter, like a weight had been removed from his chest. And I realized something important. I didn't miss the chaos. I didn't miss the drama. I didn't miss Tara's constant negativity or my mom's guilt trips. For the first time in a long while, my house felt like a home, not a battleground. Do I feel guilty? Maybe a little. But do I think I made the wrong call? No. I think this was long overdue. Am I the asshole? Honestly, I don't think so. Sometimes choosing your spouse is choosing your family. And sometimes the healthiest thing you can do is close the door.